breakthrough year for roots reggae and punk. New cinematic genres are on the rise as well. Enter the Dragon, starring Bruce Lee, was the first US-financed martial arts movie. This low-budget, high-octane melange of kung fu kicks and exotic locations was a huge success. Enter the Dragon gives us Carl Douglas and kung fu fighting in the charts, karate chops in the playground, and Hong Kong Phooey when we get home from school. But 73 was also the year Bruce Lee died. So what was the lasting legacy of the star and his most famous movie?
The first time I saw Enter the Dragon, I was completely blown away by this incredible screen presence.
Or don't hit back.
We've been used to John Wayne, you know, pull right back, crack, you know, while the guy stands there for 5 minutes waiting to be hit, you know. This was like, and it was all over.
There's something about the physical reality of what Lee did, the fact that we can see his speed. But even without his physical ability, he has that quality that stars have. Lee remains, 30 years on, the sort of person we want to look at.
Before Enter the Dragon came along, you had a martial arts movie scene in Hong Kong that was extremely primitive. It was only a few years before that the Shaw Brothers made a big breakthrough with Five Fingers of Death, but the production values of that film were extremely old world. The whole thing was geared up to the action only.
Hey, what do you guys want?
Warner Brothers had a really big hit with the Five Fingers of Death in the US. That had opened the floodgates to dubbed martial arts films coming through. So they were clearly looking for a more sort of English language, Hollywood-style film. And Lee was clearly the right person to do that.
Bruce Lee had made a number of small films in Hong Kong, and he came to the attention of Western filmmakers.
Hello, Mr. Lee. My name's Braithwaite.
Hello, Mr. Braithwaite.
I've come to speak to you about a matter of great importance.
He was a young Chinese actor with real charisma and real physical presence. I think it helped a very great deal that Bruce Lee had Caucasian crossover type of features. The square jaw, the brooding eyes, all of that sort of thing fitted into a Hollywood archetype. I think that was very, very important. But the second thing, which was really, I think, of extreme importance, was that the guy could move.
There's that great sweeping outward kick he does with full straight leg, so it's hard to do with a locked out knee. He does maybe 25 of them without stopping as each person comes to him. Bam, bam, bam. I was blown away.
Enter the Dragon was a huge success in the West. There's very much a new interest in Asia. Nixon recently had been the first American president to go to China. At the same time, of course, the fallout from the Vietnam War. So it sort of partly taps into that.
The whole martial arts craze was just beginning to take off, and this really lent it momentum. This was finally the movement finding its star, finding the figurehead for a huge boom internationally.
2-3 years earlier, most people didn't even know, people in the West didn't know what Kung Fu meant. They would, at best, might have thought it was something you ordered with fried rice. Suddenly, everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows who Bruce Lee is. For that year particularly, Kung Fu seemed to be everywhere.
Bruce Lee's death in 73, the same year that Enter the Dragon came out, making him into a sort of James Dean type figure, that really cemented the legend that Enter the Dragon has become.
I watched as many Kung Fu films as I could throughout the 70s and 80s, 90s, and still watching them. But I have to say, I don't believe I've seen anyone that's excited me as much as Bruce Lee. The only guy that comes anywhere near is this new guy, Tony Jaa, from Ong Bak, Thai Warrior. At one point, he turns, does a no-hands cartwheel through the comedy plates of glass, then drops into the front, not the side, the front splits positions, and glides under a lorry. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And that's why I think that Tony Jaa is the nearest thing that I've ever seen to maybe Bruce Lee, because he doesn't need any tricks.
Tony Jaa is physically extraordinary. He's probably the best there is at the moment. But as a star that audiences are going to invest in, that they're going to care about in the same way that they cared about Bruce Lee, that's probably something he needs to develop a little bit more.
When I look at Enter the Dragon now, just two things strike me, because a very great deal of it has dated. But certainly Bruce Lee's physique, just the sheer muscularity of the main actor still stands out even by today's standards. And I think the second thing that really stands out is just how well he carried that film, despite the fact that he had two major co-stars who were meant to be there as insurance for the filmmakers in case Lee couldn't carry it. But in fact, he completely eclipses them.
You seem to be very much at home here, Mr. Roper, huh?
This guy Han's got a great sense of hospitality and a fantastic sense of style. Yeah, it's great.
Then why are you so apprehensive?
Apprehensive? No, I was just wondering whether it was okay to drink the water.
Mr. Roper, don't con me.
It's as if everything else has been put around him, and because he's just there in this aura of self-aware brilliance. And he knows how good he is, and he's high on his own brilliance. That's what it is. You get intoxicated by seeing how high he is on his own self-aware brilliance.
1970